So this year we're going to be doing a tour of carpet weaving. So the carpets that they make here. And this is a school where they educate people just like a normal education, but then also give them the practice of how to weave carpets, which is big part of the culture out here. And so we're going to kind of see how they make those, also how they extract the silk as well. So it's pretty cool. So we'll go on inside.
Yes. Have you heard of them? Yes. They don't use this technique. They use a technique called a center knot, which is this. This is what we call a single knotting technique. And this is what we call a double knotting technique, because you have two loops and you can get very low piles where the single knot, one is wrapped, one is loose. You have to have a high pile. That's the difference between the two. So we'll cut it. Once again, she'll go in between, around the other, in between, together, down, and then she'll cut it. So every spot you see behind that carpet is one of those. Once she puts the row of knots in, this is the first stage. There's a second stage where she will put a horizontal line in, and that horizontal line from the vertical line, it goes in between, in and out, similar to a straw basket. You know how you go in and out, and then vice versa? So what you're actually doing is you're locking. That's how we lock the knots and the horizontal lines. Atkıya atın bakalım. Watch. How they put that horizontal line in. That's an important event. Every row of knots, the horizontal line, and that line needs to be compressed. And it's done by the help of a tool. Do you see the tool? That's called a kit. It's an important tool. The harder they hit, the tighter it becomes. So for these ladies to hit this hard and make it tight, what do? We put the picture of their husbands in front of them. No, we don't. I'm joking. But so that's forcing everything down. What that does is actually squeezes the carpet and the design, and it also gives you that straight line that you need. If you don't have that straight line, the design will be varying like that. And the final stage, do you see the long ends? Those are trimmed by the help of a scissors. Göster makası. See the scissors? Shaped differently, and two hands are required to give you that accuracy of a cut. So what they do is they put the row of knots, the horizontal line, it's compressed, and they'll start trimming the ends with the scissors, and that's giving you the height pile. Vur bakalım, kesi bakalım. Anla işte. So there you are. You're actually getting the pile of the carpet right there. Now, you were asking how long it takes. This is a 4 feet by 6 feet. It'll take her approximately 4.5 months to make. This is a 5 feet by 7 feet. It'll take her approximately 6.5 months to make. The far end one over there is a 7 feet by 10 feet, wool on wool, and it'll take her about 8.5 to 9 months to make. And this little guy over here, you see this little one? This one here will take her approximately 18 months of labor. It's a small piece according to the other ones. And why this one is taking so long? This is pure silk. And I don't know if you've heard of Turkish carpets, why they're so very popular. It's because of this. The best carpets in the world are produced by the Turkish people, but they are the pure silk on silk ones, and they are the finest ones in the world. I'm going to show you one inside that takes about 9.5 years to make. And when you see the carpet, you'll be amazed. You wouldn't believe that takes that long. But this is the one that takes 18 months. As for the design, that's very simple. Do you see the grids they have in front of them? Every little square you see in that grid is one knot. It's like the back of a carpet, right? But every one of these little squares determine one of those vertical lines. So if she's going to be putting the eye of the horse, from the corner to there, she'll count like 25 spots. This means she'll be counting 25 of the vertical lines, picking the one in the front and back, looping it with that color, goes down, and then cuts it. Quite simple.
How about if she will make mistake?
Now, that's a good question. Technically, they do not make a mistake. Because it's technical. Remember, technically, we put the double knots. Okay? If you're making a carpet and you're using a double knot, but then instead of using a double knot, you put a single knot, That is a technical mistake. But what happens if they put the wrong color in the wrong place? Do they do that? 1,000,000%. And we don't call that a mistake, we call that a color distortion.
So you didn't just let it go.
Well, after the carpet is done, you see it there, you can't run away with it. So every hand knotted, not handmade, hand knotted carpet will have a wrong color in the wrong place. And you cannot run away with it. You know when we're looking about silk, we talk about silk in garments and scarves and stitching and suturing. Everybody talks about silk, but not many people know where it comes from. It actually comes from the silk cocoon that is produced by the silkworm. Sometimes they say it's from the silkworm. No, it's from the cocoon that the silk fibers obtain. The fascinating thing about it, the guy that makes this, that little silkworm, is the size of a pinhead. He starts eating the mulberry leaf, he becomes an adult, and he produces this little cocoon, which he then transforms from a worm into a moth, cuts a hole, comes out as a moth, mates. 24 hours later, the moths die. Then the eggs, they hatch, they are alive, then they eat the mulberry leaves. About a month and a half later, they're already old enough to make the cocoon, and then they transform from a worm into a moth. They come out, they mate. It's a life cycle. But that little worm eats that leaf continuously to produce this little guy to transform from a worm into a moth. That's something amazing. But where does humanity come in here? See, from these guys, we actually take them and we steam them to prevent the worm turning into a moth. So if you listen, you hear it? The silkworms are inside. And one of the reasons we steam them is to prevent them coming out, because when they come out, they cut a hole in the cocoon, right? So when they cut that hole in the cocoon, that means we're not going to be able to obtain this one little thin fiber, just like that, because we're able to obtain that one thin fiber without breaking it about 1 mile to 1.5 miles long.
Are you kidding me?
No, you see, I'm still baffled how a human can have the idea to get that little thin fiber, find it on our hair, and make it into one of the strongest natural fibers in the world. This is how good and how big and how great God is. I'm still baffled with this. And then how did you give the idea to that person who invented this? It's an amazing thing. So here, it breaks. That's why we take these guys, we put them in this pot that's just hot water, because the hot water goes into here and this swells up, and then they catch it with this high technology Bristol brush, and then you'll see how she's going to show it to you anyway. But we don't kill all of them, of course. We only steam maybe like 60-70%, and then the rest is left for the second generation. But into the water is absorbed, it inflates a little bit, and then watch how she's going to catch the ends. You can take your videos in this one. This is the front part. Look like that. Oh my. Devam et hadi. So she'll catch the ends. And lift it up. Now do you see how from one there's many fibers? We can't use all that. We need one from one, right? So she'll grab the whole bundle and she'll start peeling it off one by one, or actually a hole at a time. Devam et. Just like that. She'll grab it. She'll take those down, and what she's actually doing is she's taking away the fluff out of the cocoon. It's what we refer to as waste silk, but technically we don't throw it away. We still recycle it, and we produce a fiber called spun silk. Okay, so she'll take it out, and the part that she takes out is not thrown away. Don't forget, we still recycle it. But look at that now. Do you see those? Now, tut öyle. Those fibers need to be joined. How it's done, she'll go through the loop, around that little wheel, through the loop here, around this big wheel, and then when she starts turning it, be careful of your hand. Watch, devam et, and watch what happens inside the water. Look. You see how those guys are jumping up and down? Yeah. So what's happening now is these guys are not dying, but they're simply unraveling. Look. So this is the only method of unraveling the silk without breaking it. See where my hand is? There's one. You can see the guy underneath my hand. Yeah. Hold it. Bring your hand like mine. Do you feel it?
Yeah.
You can hardly see it, but you can feel it. Feel that?
Yeah. And they're all making one.
All of those guys are joined into one strand here. Dur bakalım. So when all of that is joined into one strand, it goes into here. So now all of that is unraveled. What we end up with? We end up with the inner layer. There's actually an outer layer and an inner layer. We take the outer layer, but inside the inner layer is the silkworm right there.
But he's dead.
He's dead. We steam them, remember?
Yeah.
Because if we don't, they'll turn into a moth, and then they'll cut a hole in the cocoon. So this is what we don't throw them away either. We don't eat them, but we feed them to the chickens we have here. Nothing is wasted.
Oh my!
So that's the silkworm. Yeah, everything is recycled. Everything. We never throw anything away. Even the pieces where the ladies cut. This is an advantage for us. Basically, what we're doing is we're producing, without waste. That's the important part. So all of the silk unraveled. See that? This is what we end up with now. I want you to touch this, pass it around. It might be a little wet because we have rain coming through.
This from this cocoon.
Yes, so those cocoons turn into those guys. That's raw silk, directly from the cocoon to that. And then we take that, we wash it, and we color it. And then that's the finished product. Now feel that.
Oh yeah.
Now the coloring of silk, that's important, is not natural dyes. It's what we call chrome aniline dyes, which are chemical dyes. So if people say to you that it's it is natural dyed and it won't fade, they're lying to you. You know, there's everything will fade in the world. Because some of the cheeky salesmen, they'll say this is natural silk, it's naturally dyed, it's so strong it will never fade. No, it's so strong that it is a fiber that does not break. This is, look, you've been in Ephesus, right?
Yeah.
You ever wonder how they sharpened or they actually shape? They were using silk. And silk with sand was actually used, and it'll actually cut metal too. We tried it and it does. That's how strong this fiber is. Now, one of the reasons we're using chemical dyes, silk is not an absorbent fiber. It will not absorb anything. That's one of the reasons they were using it in skin. You know, when you have a gouge in your skin, you close it up and you use the silk suture, and you dry and you have a scab, and inside the scab you have the silk you cut and you slide it out of your skin because it doesn't combine to your skin. So that's one of the miracles of God, and that's what I mean. I'm still baffled with this. It's used in many areas. In sails it's used, it's in ropes it's used. It's today they don't use it in normal stitching, but they do use it in microsurgery. So if you have eye surgery, they're using this. So it's a non-absorbent fiber, so it's antibacterial, it's anti-allergic, so that's an amazing thing. Now, as for natural dyes, do you see the colors in that guy? Do you see how there's light and dark shadings?
Yes.
That is natural colors. Because when you get that natural, that light and dark shading, it means the wool that they have, it's hand spun. You know, when you're hand spinning the wool like this, that's where it's very tight. And when it's spinning on its own, that's where it's loose. So the loose parts will obtain the dye quicker to the parts that are being a lot more lighter. And that's the only way you're able to distinguish carpets between natural dyes and chemical dyes, is the variations in the tones that you get.
What would the price of something like that be?
Now this is cotton in the base, you can see, wool on the pile. The price on that one would be around $6,900. Okay? Now you can find carpets in that size for about $100,000 for the price range of almost something like around $2,000 or $1,800 in the same size. Same material, it differs. And that's what I'm going to tell you inside so you'll see the difference. See, it's like cardboard. And that's that little saliva here that dries up. And the only way we're able to dissolve that is simply by hot water. And then they start becoming an adult to produce the cocoon. Now, you can see this is just the bush, but this is where we cultivate them, that you can see right there. We cultivate. We actually grow them, and it's in enclosed communities. If you leave them outside, all the birds will go and eat them. Yeah. So therefore, we have this climatically controlled area. Then they produce the cocoon. You see that worm right there turns into this guy. And you see that little yellowy stuff? That's the only, I don't know what you would call it, saliva or a little spit that dissolves silk. It's the only material in the world that dissolves that
And that's
naturally.
That's how natural lasting comes.
Correct. So it comes out, then they mate. The male lasts 24 hours, the female lasts 48 hours. After laying the eggs, the female will go to a corner and they will die. They don't fly.
The eggs.
So they're just where they are.
Come out. That's how big they are.
So let's do this. Let's go inside and we'll sit down and I'll offer you guys something to drink.
Eat the mulberry leaves.
This is the type of carpet that you would use, which is called modern decor. I'm sure you've all heard people say, I have a house, but my decorating is more French ornate, with floral. So that means you're Victorian. Carpets with floral designs, with medallion designs is what we call Victorian decor. So you have modern decor, you have Victorian decor. You know, others, people also say this. They say, well, my house, or den, or an office, or a library, or a cottage, or even a sunroom has a lot of wood furniture, or bamboo furniture, or even antique furniture. You can't use these guys, they will clash. But you use another type of carpet we call rustic. Have you heard of that? Mm-hmm. So this is what we refer to rustic. It's more geometrical stylized figures. So design-wise, these guys are very similar to nomadic art. Yeah, you know, Aboriginal mutual art, or Navajo Indian art. Yeah. That's what we call rustic. Okay? And this guy here, this is also very popular in the States. This is called a contemporary design. I'm sure you've all been to Macy's in America, right? Yes. You'll find a lot of these carpets in Macy's. And if you work with decorators, the #1 hit carpet they like to use is this. If you look at the design, it's not too modern, it's not too Victorian, and it's not too rustic. So it's a design that sort of complements everything. So this is what I mean by these 4 designs. How you can guide yourself. If you say I'm a contemporary person, you've just eliminated 75% of what you can see. This is what you're ending up. See the color and the design? Look, same thing with this one. It's contemporary, but there's a bit of color in there. So this is going from a minimalist point of view to more of a little bit more color that you'll find in there. For example, traditional designs are made, like this guy here. This is from eastern part of Turkey. It's also a carpet that has a lot of biblical themes in there too. You need to really look at the nomadic pieces because they do have biblical references in there. But this is a carpet I also strongly suggest for people who drink a lot of red wine. You can't go with this one right there. Look, modern contemporary combination. That's a design you'll find everywhere. You can find that design in a machine-made format, so it's no point in getting something, but we produce them. This one, for example, is from 1800s. See that? From 1820s actually. It's a reconstruction of an old example. Now how did this happen? Bunun bir tane şey yok mu bizde? Original design, this is what it comes out to be. Do you see the designs of what I mean? From an old antique carpet, it went into that, and from there, it went into this. This, if you say, I love it, I need a smaller, bigger, couple of them, forget it. This is only one. This one I have many. Do you understand? This is one of the things that I did. I'll show you another one. A bit. See? The runner. Fine. This is a carpet. If you read the story of Marco Polo traveling through the Silk Road, you will talk about this carpet. This guy here, look. This is the oldest design in the world. This is called a pazarik, and it was a carpet that was discovered by a Russian scientist named Rudenko, and he actually found the carpet in that condition. So you can see, if you want to see the original one, you can. That's the mint condition. Of course, it's missing pieces, but it's in the museum in Leningrad in Russia. I don't want to go there. But why it's important for the Turkish culture, it's the only carpet that's found at 2,600-year-old that is using the double knots. So this is how we know how far the double knots date back to. Göster abi öyle. And have a look. So that's what we call a pazarik. So a modern one. So modern ones not only come like the square, but you can get them like that, or like this. That's another modern piece that you'll find right there. Evet abi, devam edelim. There's an Uşak again. By the way, these guys, the contemporary ones, are called Uşak carpets, but in America they're known as Uşaks. Right? Touch. There's another modern one. Alacağım bunu.
That one?
Oh. Well, they're good to, yeah. This is the original one. That has Southwest.
That's the one I was assembling.
Alacağım şimdi. Bir iki tane daha açsınlar alacağım. Okay.
That's pretty.
See the smaller ones you can get as well. You notice one thing on some of them, look how they're plaited.
Yes.
Some are tight, some are short, some are long. That is completely the characteristic appearance of a person that makes the carpet. So if the girl makes that carpet and there's a meaning to it, we don't tamper with it. Because it's from central Turkey, from Cappadocia, one of the 7 churches, remember? So look, this guy here is not a new carpet. This guy is about 75 years old. A new one today of this size is about $1,800. This guy here is $14,700. So, I mean, if nobody told you that this was an old carpet, you wouldn't believe it. And you can see it's a wool on wool one too. So carpets, the more you use it, the more valuable they become. And you notice that too. It's the patina that's in there that makes these carpets valuable. That guy's about a 35-year-old one. But the rest of them are new. Aç anne onu da. Alıyorum şimdi. Gel. So you can get round ones.